hello, and here we are again, second day in a row. This time a bit earlier tonight, 7 o'clock. I know that this is about the only dry night I think we're going to get this week, so I decided that it was just an opportunity to get back out again on the ZZR1100. And I think it was a chap, Sparky, that was right in there and identified it right away. Well done, Sparky. So yes, it's a Kawasaki ZZR1100. It's a 1997 model, a D5. And as per the video last night, it is going absolutely superb. Strange thing with the video card, it had a lot of fragmented files in it. I had cleared it. Well, I'd cleared the folder that I normally clear, but I didn't pay attention to the files on the root of it. And it turned out that there was just loads of those, and that's why I ran out of space on the card. So tonight I pulled another card out of the drawer. Hopefully this one's okay, and we get a chance to do my favourite loop, and I can finish off the story I was starting when the video cut off. But yeah, I think I was at the part in the video where I had said that I was, at a stage of my life where I think I was 27 and I had no money. I'd been made redundant. I'd got myself into college, and basically did an HND and then a degree, and then I got into IT. But in between that journey, my brother was very much into his ZZR1100s, and he had one when they came out brand new. He had, I think he's got to have had 3 or 4 of them in his life. One of them, the current one he's got now, is one of my old ones, and he's had that for about 14 years or so, something like that. And he's just been an absolute ZZR fanatic ever since they came out. I used to go out in the back with them. I didn't have, I had a motorbike at the time, but it wasn't, it wasn't anything grand, or it wasn't anything modern. And I used to go out in the back of his ZZR with him, and had quite a few adventures with him. And as I said, I used to feel like that World War I pilot, because with Sandy, you always felt like you were going on a mission. And holding on to the back of that bike with him riding it like he was riding it. I mean, these things have got a ferocious acceleration, and it was really, really hard work. You got a proper workout hanging onto the handles on this bike. It wasn't the most comfortable thing to hold on to. I used to wedge my hand under the back rail and grab it so that I could pull myself back and forward. Again, I am being careful with my speeds, so forgive me if it's a bit boring. I'll try and open the bike up here and there where I can, but I'm just being very cautious. I've got enough points on my licence now without getting any more, so, and that's the madness of a bike like this, because it's quite hard to stick to the speed limits, and I don't stick to them totally, but I'm trying to just keep it in hand a bit. So anyway, that was my association with the ZZR. My brother loved it, and through him loving it, I loved it. And I never really believed I would ever ride one. And then I got his old one. He got a newer one that I had, and then I got his older one. But I never really sort of spent a lot of time with the bike. As I've gotten older, you know, I've started to really harp for all the old bikes of the old days, my old days, the bikes that meant a lot to me. See that it shifts. It's a heavy bike, you know, it's not, you don't float through the corners like on a modern sports bike. You've got to be a bit more planted with it, but you know what, for a big old bus it does really, really well. And again, my brother is testament to how well this bike can be ridden. He can really push these bikes quite phenomenally. I've got a guy up my arse who I think is just dying to pass me, and I'm not going to carry on at top speeds. What's this person doing? I often have to question what goes through people's minds when they pull out of junctions and they drive slow and they know they've pulled out in front of you. But we should hopefully demonstrate one of the real benefits of this machine. Hopefully. Is it? It's just that immense power that makes it so easy to overtake. Quite a few midges in the air tonight, unfortunately, so I'll have to get the bike a wee clean down when we get back. Helmet is already covered. But this is a bike that you can spend all day on. You know, people toured continents on this bike. It's probably not, you know, you need a pretty committed passenger really. If you've got luggage and that on the top box, that certainly will help with the pillion, but you need something like that at least to make the tuning part possible to up. But as far as the bike's ability to pull two up fully loaded, it just kills it. It can just do that in its stride. It's no challenge for it whatsoever. And as I thought, that car has managed to overtake that car, and he's starting to charge up my arse. But I'm just going to keep going at what I'm going at, because like I say, I don't want to push my luck too much. So I'm in top gear at the moment. Let's see how well she does. Just drifting around the corners. Absolutely no problem. we'll stop at my favourite photo spot, and hopefully the camera keeps going and I can give you a wee walk around. Let you see the bike in its glory. 27 years old, it's quite hard to believe, 21,500 miles just over it. It feels as fresh as a daisy. That's the kind of power that this bike puts at your fingertips. It really does make overtaking a breeze. You can get carried away with it, and that certainly was what my brother did. he just wouldn't slow down for anything. But he's 74 now, so he doesn't get out quite so often, and he certainly doesn't ride like he used to. Thank God, really. But this is his bike. This is his bike. This is his love. And I've never really given myself time to experience the joy that he had with it. I've enjoyed it, but I've always had other bikes dotted around it. I've always been doing other things. And when I sold the last one of these, I really didn't want to sell it, and I really shouldn't have sold it. I should have kept it. But I've got to say, I think this one's better, even though it's maybe about 3 years older. I think it was actually, this is a better bike. It just feels a lot better. No difference in the models over the years, really. From 95 onwards, or you know, when they went to the full power, which I think was maybe 95. So, you know, they went to the 144 brake horsepower instead of the 125, which at the time, you know, we weren't dealing with bikes that had 150 brake horsepower or 200 brake horsepower. Nowadays you get a bloody adventure bike with a 170 brake horsepower, you know, so it's amazing how it's all changed, you know. But the way this bike delivers its power is second to none. It never runs out, it's constant, it's linear, it just keeps coming and coming. You'll never manage to take it all the way. You will back off. There's not a road big enough for you to really get it flat out, and by that time, well, you're going to jail, you know, big time. So here we go, my favourite spot. So we get some photos, hopefully. Now, one of the no-nos with these bikes is you never run them on their side stand, because it starves the oil. So always switch them off, never have them idling or warming up on their side stand. It's no good for them. It ends up knackering the camshafts on them, or can do. Right, so a couple of little bits on it. I mean, remember it's 27 years old, so it's going to have a few scrapes on it. The main bit is the mudguard there. This is a common fault on them, so I'm going to have to repair that. And there's a wee bit of gravel ash down at the lower fairing there. Almost just looks like the lacquer has come off. But apart from that, it is absolutely glorious. Its condition is really phenomenal, really, for a 27-year-old bike. Whoever's, one of the owners owned it for 14 years, 15 years. They've loved it. They've obviously, someone's upgraded all the brake hoses, braided hoses, all that kind of stuff. The fairing itself, all of it is absolutely perfect. There's no cracking, nothing like that. Some of these fairings can be bad for cracking, but again, it looks absolutely superb. And as we go on to look over the bike, you can see it's just over 21,661, and its condition is really superb, absolutely superb. Original exhausts, and they really are tidy underneath. I've had a good look. I've had a good look at the front pipes as well, and they look absolutely excellent. And I might be tempted at some point to pop the exhaust off and just give it a protective layer of paint and try my best to keep the original. Oh, so let's get going again. Oh. A couple of bikes behind me, I'll let them get past, I think. They were keen to go. Bike's got no problem keeping up with the modern kit. Now I know the road surface here is not great, so I'm easing off a little bit. They will take their opportunity and overtake this car when they can. This road has double lines for most of the way, I think. Goes through Octortool. They'll maybe got a break then to pass it, but they've obviously got their very racy cans on by the sounds of it. Bit of backfire there. The car is either turning in or thought he was going to be letting it past. This is a severe corner here a little bit, you've got to watch it. Backfiring there. Can be a bit of gravel on this part of the road quite often. little bit careful. But I knew I was never going to keep up with them, and I wasn't even going to try. And there goes the number one important thing about ride your own bike, your own way. Don't get caught up in what other people are doing. I've seen it go wrong. Can be a bad corner. This, it switches right back. But when you want to just bimbo along with this bike, it does such a great job, you know. And then you decide to open the bugger up, and away she goes, you know, away she goes. And I was not really giving the throttle much go there, you know. It's got so much power, and you can be absolutely confident that you'll get past. The only thing you have to watch is the cornering. It's not going to get round the corners quite as quick as those bikes that were in front of me by a long mile. You've just got to be very sure-footed about the cornering. But what a comfortable bike. I love the riding position, it's just fantastic for me. It's the same for my brother. It was made for people who are 6 foot with 33 inside legs. It's just the perfect ergonomics for big guys. And you just feel so comfortable on it, you know. This and the VFR 1200 for me were the most comfortable bikes, sports bike wise. They were the most comfortable bikes that I ever rode. And I felt I could sit on them all day, you know. There is a bit of pressure on your wrists, obviously, but not in the same way as a Fireblade. And again, if you get the bike going, you get the air on your chest, you take the weight off, it's really not that bad at all. I don't find it too bad. And the clutch I find fine as well. I'm not struggling with the clutch. It is a hydraulic clutch, but they can be heavy clutches. If anybody's wondering why I always ride with my thumb above the grip, I had a very severe wrist issue, and I think it was my tendons in my wrist, and it was really severe for years. I had to wear straps and everything, and that was when I ended up going to Honda DCTs, and that allowed it time to cure. And I've just ever since, because I felt that it lessened any chance of it repeating, I found that if I put my thumb over the top, I took away all the kind of strain and pain that I maybe had in the past, and that's why I ride like that. I've just learnt to use my fingers. I'm sure that, you know, I've not found the suspension to be a problem for me so far. To me it's what I would expect with this sort of style of bike and this age of bike. I certainly think it actually feels really good, and a lot better than I maybe expected it would. But it's just lovely. I mean, I've done 37 miles on it so far, and it's just behaved absolutely beautifully, and I'm chuffed to bits with it. Basically, it's just a fine example. So over the last 3 or 4 years I've started to buy older bikes, and I've had some absolute bargains and some real crackers, and there's been 1 or 2 that maybe were borderline, but most of them have been absolutely stunting bikes for the money. And you know, a lot of them have been just deposit money, you know, the deposit money that I would have put on a new bike, and it buys you something that really was yesteryear's magic. And you know, if you're really lucky, I mean, my VFR 750 is a good example of that. If you're really lucky, for less than £1,000 I got that bike, and it's just such a wonderful machine, and it still is a wonderful machine, and it was in such lovely condition for a 30-year-old bike when I bought it. I just, you know, it's just such a bargain, really. These things are just such a bargain. It's where the sensible money can go. There's not a lot of these, I think, in this kind of condition. A lot of them are, you know, I've had a hard time, but there's still quite a few of them on the road, and there are still a few gems out there. But I would say this is right up there. This is definitely one of the nicer ones. With the mileage and the history that I've kind of got with the paperwork, I'm really confident that I've got myself a really well maintained bike. Feels like it could rain a little bit. This was an extra bit for me to do. Go to Sandy's.